A sheriff's deputy who was not present for a shooting is looking at charges anyway. And today we learned why. An anti-gay Christian group is showing up at the Club Q memorial, leading clergy to keep watch day and night.
It brings up so much of the extra trauma on top of what we're already going through.
The governor talks about what gun control legislation he plans to support and sidesteps another question on the issue. Unions say that combining King Soopers and Safeway could lead to job cuts and food supply issues in Colorado. And this state's craft beer business is still booming. But man, there are a lot of dudes, a bunch of them with beards. Nothing against them, they're great, but there's a program that's trying to open up the industry to say like half the population. All that is next. A newly unsealed indictment gives us a better idea why 2 Clear Creek County Sheriff's deputies are facing serious charges for the shooting death of Christian Glass. He's the man who called 911 for help from the roadside during a mental health crisis. Deputy Andrew Buen is charged with second-degree murder. Deputy Kyle Gould was also charged with criminally negligent homicide, despite the fact that Gould was not on the scene at the time of the shooting. The indictment unsealed today explains why a grand jury placed so much blame on an officer who wasn't there. According to the indictment, deputies at the scene, including Buen, were in contact with Gould throughout the course of their encounter with Glass. He'd called for help from Silver Plume, was clearly in distress, wouldn't get out of his car. The indictment says Gould watched the scene unfold through a live streaming feature on the body cams. Also mentions a phone conversation between Gould and Buen, which is not on the body camera. But after the call, Buen said that Gould gave him authorization to break the car window.
Are you on live stream right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Gould's already given us authorization. We're just trying everything we can.
Double check. I'll stand 5116, and you have a fast pop in this window.
Deputy Buen eventually broke that car window. Officers then fired beanbag rounds and fired tasers at Glass, trying to get him out of the vehicle. He just kind of freaked out. Glass picked up a knife and began to swing it around in what the grand jury indictment says was an act of self-defense, an act of panic. And that's when Deputy Buen shot and killed him. The indictment argues that none of that would have happened without Gould's authorization to take Glass out of the vehicle. Both Gould and Buen have been fired from the sheriff's office. They're due back in court next month. The memorial outside Club Q in Colorado Springs now has a team of people that watch it day and night. They're out there because an anti-gay Christian ministry group has come into town and has been sending people to the memorial. Our Mark Salinger reports on the group of local clergy who mobilized in response.
The entrance to Club Q is now blocked by flowers, candles, and notes.
In the face of incredible pain and trauma, there's also an incredible generosity and love that comes out.
There's one sign that is held apart from the rest.
I am a member of the LGBTQ community, and I am also an ordained Christian pastor. Some people think that those two things are antithetical, and I am here living proof that they're not.
Reverend Mallory Everhart is a pastor at the Vista Grande United Church of Christ in Colorado Springs. She's leading a group of queer-affirming clergy, standing watch outside Club Q to make sure everyone feels welcome and has someone to talk to who understands their pain. Her idea was born after she heard people came to the memorial to mourn and were met by members of an evangelical ministry group with anti-LGBTQ beliefs.
It's a trigger here in Colorado Springs. Evangelicalism has done a lot of harm, and so even if they were trying to do something good and their hearts truly were in the right place, it brings up so much of the extra trauma on top of what we're already going through.
We saw members of the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team at the memorial last week. Then we did some research. It didn't take long to find on their website a page that says homosexuality is a sin. Before people can volunteer as chaplains to deploy to natural disasters and mass casualty events, they must affirm that marriage is exclusively the union of one genetic male and one genetic female.
Some of the folks who have come out here and are trying to do ministry really don't have that kind of cultural humility that's needed to really meet the needs that are actually here, and actually in their desire to help have actually caused a lot of spiritual harm.
Well, the association put out a press release saying its rapid response team was deploying to the shooting at a nightclub in Colorado Springs. It did not make any mention that it was an LGBTQ club.
Club Q was one of the only places for queer people to congregate here in Colorado Springs, a place that was uniquely ours, that we could go to and be ourselves.
Now Mallory stands watch to make sure that sacred space remains welcoming.
So if you're not for the queer community and you're not out and loud and saying we're on your side, then you're not a safe person. Like, you can't be wishy-washy about this in this like very politicized moment.
Mallory says she has queer-affirming clergy coming to help her at the memorial from as far as Cheyenne, Wyoming. They have a rotation going to have someone out there from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Now, we reached out to the Graham Rapid Response Team earlier this afternoon. Just literally within the last 2 minutes, we got a response. So I want to read that really quickly. It says, in part, the chaplains are simply there to offer hope and comfort during times of crisis, providing a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on. Kyle, I asked them about their anti-LGBTQ beliefs and how that played in with them being there. They did not respond to any of those questions.
When you told me that they were sending people out there, it's just like, guys, read the room.
Well, and there were a lot of people out there who said, hey, I'm just coming here to mourn. And that's how this all got started, is from members of the clergy hearing, hey, people came here to mourn and they felt like they weren't welcome in a place where they were setting up a memorial. And that's how this all got started.
This probably happens all the time and we just don't know about it. But my jaw dropped when you said today that they were out there of all places. All right, Mark, thank you. We've talked a bit about Richard Fierro. He's one of the heroes who helped stop the Club Q shooter. We knew that Fierro did not act alone because he mentioned that at least 2 other people helped him subdue the shooter and remove his weapons. Over the weekend, we heard from the first time from Thomas James, Petty Officer 2nd Class. Thomas James is in the Navy. He's currently recovering in a hospital in Colorado Springs. He put out a written message, reading in part, I simply wanted to save the family I found. If I had my way, I would shield everyone I could from the nonsensical acts of hate in the world, but I am only one person. He also shared a message of hope for the LGBTQ community, writing, quote, to the youth, I say, be brave. Your family is out there. You are loved and valued. So when you come out of the closet, come out swinging. Fierro said that there was a 3rd person who also helped subdue the shooter. Police did not identify that person by name, and to the best of our knowledge, that person has not yet chosen to speak publicly about what happened. Colorado's red flag gun law was designed to temporarily get weapons away from people who are dangerous, deemed dangerous by a judge, but who have not committed a crime. Our 9 Wants to Know team has reported that El Paso County, where the shooting took place, El Paso has the lowest approval rate of red flag petitions among the most populous Front Range counties. The county sheriff vocally opposes red flag. His office passed on a chance to use it in June 2021. That's when the shooting suspect was taken into custody after threatening their mother with a bomb, which led to a standoff with deputies. Colorado's red flag law allows law enforcement to temporarily confiscate firearms from somebody who's deemed dangerous by a judge. But those proceedings can only get started if they come from a certain person, like a family member, a roommate, or law enforcement. This weekend on NBC's Meet the Press, Democratic Governor Jared Polis said he is considering an expansion of Colorado's red flag gun law. But Polis said he doesn't think this will make much of a difference without federal gun reform.
Well, we're certainly going to take a hard look at why red flag law wasn't used in this case. But of course, the answer needs to be national as well. We have universal background checks in Colorado. Some of our neighboring states don't even have background checks. So somebody who's a convicted felon in Colorado, unable to legally purchase a gun, can drive an hour or two, buy a weapon, buy 5 weapons at an open-air gun show and return to our state.
We don't know much about why the shooting suspect's mother was not interested in pursuing a red flag order following the threats. Case has been sealed, so we can't figure that out right now. We learned today that the shooting suspect's mother, Laura Vopel, was cited by police the day after the Club Q shooting, cited her for resisting arrest and disorderly conduct. So the governor, as we mentioned, was making the rounds of the Sunday political shows. On another network, CBS, the governor was less committal when he was asked about the idea of a ban on so-called assault weapons. That's something that President Biden is suggesting could come up in the lame duck Congress, and it could certainly also be raised by the Democrats in the majority at the Colorado state legislature next year.
You also have to look at all the causes. So is there a way to improve gun safety out of this, to make sure that red flag laws are used? Not only if he had a pistol and a semi-automatic weapon, do we need better laws on ghost guns? Do we need to make sure that we have a better process around semi-automatic weapons? Open to all of those.
Before the shooting, Democrats in the state legislature, who are going to have their largest majority ever, made it clear they were going to move on this issue. Some of them have already formed a gun violence prevention caucus with a specific goal of sending several gun bills to the governor for his signature. Colorado Healing Fund says it has now completed 2 distributions of donations totaling $245,000 to the Club Q survivors and the families of the 5 people killed. Your Word of Thanks donations raised $113,000 for that fund. The nonprofit says additional distributions will be determined by future donations. The Healing Fund is working with nonprofits in the LGBTQ community to determine how to best support those impacted.
Some employees of Colorado's largest grocery store chains warn of what a merger would mean to the whole supply chain.
This is going to be really hard on Colorado's economy.
They're going to Washington, trying to head off the combination of King Soopers and Safeway. Craft beer. It too often looks like a boys' club in Colorado. Doesn't have to be, but it's going to take work. Like this. Next.
The proposed merger between Kroger and Albertsons is finally going to Congress tomorrow. This would combine Safeway and King Soopers parent companies. A Senate subcommittee that looks at antitrust and consumer rights will hear from the CEOs of both companies tomorrow. They will not be hearing, at least not in a formal hearing, from the unions representing grocery employees. Union leadership is going to go to Capitol Hill anyway to share their concerns. UFCW is sending people from Colorado and nearly a dozen other states. The chapter of UFCW Local 7 here in Colorado, they're especially concerned about the impact on workers and consumers because reps say that King Soopers, owned by Kroger, Safeway, owned by Albertsons, together they control half of Colorado's grocery market share. And they're concerned that the merger would lead to areas without easy access to a store, along with price increases and job losses, especially in rural areas.
You know, there's parts of Colorado where they control 100% of the market, you know, and like Durango, Colorado. I mean, with those two stores, they make up 90% of the grocery market share. And, you know, if they end up having to close some of those stores out there, there's going to be less places for the consumer to shop. And these are you know, these are some of the best jobs in our state are our grocery stores. You know, we have pension plans, health plans, you know, good pay and good benefits. And this is going to be really hard on Colorado's economy and across the country.
There's always the potential that state attorneys general might get involved to try and block this deal. Union reps say they've been in touch with Colorado's Democratic Attorney General Phil Weiser about their concerns. Weiser says his office is going to put together a team to analyze the merger. They'll take action if they believe that's needed.
Well, consider today the calm before the storm. Snowstorm, that is, as we're waiting for snow to move into the area. Right now, we're at 42 degrees. It feels like 37 out there. Winds coming in from the east-northeast at around 9 miles per hour. We are seeing areas around the state with those gusts up to around 30, 35 miles per hour further south. So it's becoming pretty windy, and that's along the front. That's going to bring a lot of snow into the state overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So we have several winter storm warnings in effect, as well as a few winter storm warnings, as well as a few winter weather advisories. So you can see different totals that we're estimating across the state. Most of the front range will be in the 3 to 8 inch category. In the high country, we'll see 4 to 8 inches here around Denver, maybe 2 to 5. And then we do have some winter storm warnings that could see 8 to 16 inches of snow. Those winds gusting up to around 45 miles per hour. So this creates very hazardous travel conditions there. And then all across the rest of the state, we're just going to continue to monitor that snowfall as we go into tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. We're already starting to see it in portions of the high country and western slope, but you can see it mostly along the northwestern corner of Colorado, and that's going to continue to push its way into the rest of the state. So as we go into the rest of the evening, we'll see those lows dropping into the teens, increasing cloud cover. That overnight snow will start leading all the way into tomorrow with very cold temperatures. Those highs maxing out in the mid-20s. Again, we could see 2 to 5 inches of snow here in Denver. As you make your way to the west, that's where you're going to see those higher totals, maybe even over a foot in some of the high country regions. Then we start to clear out Wednesday, those highs in the upper 30s, and we finally start to rebound as we make our way into the latter part of the week. We're in the 50s Thursday and Friday.
Changing perceptions of craft beer by changing who makes it.
When you think of the typical brewer, you think of like a bearded man.
We'll hear from a team of women ready to change an industry that helps define Colorado. Next.
Colorado is home to hundreds of breweries, which on any given day are likely to be full of people who look like me, which is to say, white dudes, both brewing the beer and enjoying the brews. There have certainly been strides made towards making the craft beer community more representative of the community as a whole. There's a long way to go on that. That's why MSU Denver and Flying Dog Brewery have created a partnership trying to diversify the business brewing. Byron Reed has the story.
Those are like some of my best memories.
Like most children, Colleen Haynes wanted to follow in her father's footsteps.
And then I started homebrewing with my dad. I think it is really bonding, and it was something that led me to what I wanted to do.
Haynes is a senior at Metro State University of Denver.
We are doing a raspberry pilsner.
Studying an art form that's become her passion.
This is our brewing science class.
She's learning how to craft beer in the school's brewery operations program. Haynes is getting real-world experience preparing for an industry that's trying to attract more women.
When you think of the typical brewer, you think of a bearded man. I feel like for some reason that wasn't something that was going to deter me.
Haynes is the first in the school to receive a scholarship from their Flying Dog Diversity and Brewing program that provides scholarships to students who are underrepresented in the brewing industry.
And you will have different people from different backgrounds and different genders or race, whatever, kind of going in and contributing, and I think it just makes a better work industry overall.
Women were some of the original brewers, if you look back, a few hundred years ago. They were doing all the brewing, so it's time to bring it back.
Katie Strain is a lecturer and lab manager for the school's brewery operations program. She says the scholarships will help diversify the industry.
Our program in particular, we're really trying to recruit people from diverse backgrounds, including women. So having these scholarships available, I think will help draw attention, hopefully get more women interested in this industry that I love so much.
According to a survey from the Brewers Association, more than 90% of brewery owners identify as white and more than 75% self-identified as male. It's an issue that the school's trying to fix.
We have definitely a handful of very talented women in the program right now, and I'm seeing more and more in the industry as well.
The goal is to expand an industry that's hopping on the bandwagon.
But to have different kind of big breweries, not backing you, but supporting you through it, feels really cool.
And make room for more students like Colleen so others can follow in her footsteps.
It doesn't matter if you don't fit the typical standard of a job. If you want to do it, you should just go for it.
For next,
the more diverse it is, the more you're going to be able to reach different people.
I'm Byron Reed.
This scholarship provides financial support to MSU Denver students who are pursuing a degree in brewery operations, and the scholarship recipients are guaranteed a job with Flying Dog if they want it after graduation. You have some good questions in your feedback next. Scott asks a very good question, which is what percentage of donations does the Colorado Healing Fund distribute to individuals impacted, like after the Club Q shooting? The Colorado Healing Fund states that it disperses 90% of the donations to those impacted. 10% is retained for operations and overhead. It's less than a typical nonprofit, but they have a pretty simple operation in terms of their pass-through. When you think about these victims' compensation efforts and public aid following a mass tragedy, it's often controversial. 9/11, Aurora, and so on. One of the biggest questions is how do you capture the public's interest in helping right away if you don't have a system already set up in advance like the Healing Fund has? See you next time.